Okay, we're going to go ahead and move forward to item G, City Manager's comments, update on city operations. A, update on water quality.
Yes. Mayor and Council, there's a couple of items that's printed on the agenda that we would like to talk about. I did want to, before I get into those two items, to just mention about Lavala Creek. It is being cleaned up. The utility crews have been hard at work improving the area around Lavala Creek. As we all know, this is the area is prone for flooding during heavy rains. We hope nothing happened this morning, which sometimes cause the creek to overflow. The work has included removing brush and trash from the outfalls, and the project is scheduled to be complete within the next few weeks. Okay.
Thank you very much.
The other items that's printed, one, we would like to provide you an update on the water quality. If Mr. Mark Van Vleck, the Assistant City Manager, can provide that quick update.
Mark Van Vleck, Assistant City Manager. We completed the conversion back to the use of chloramines as our disinfectant on August 8th. We are currently finalizing an update to the nitrification action plan. We are meeting with TCQ, or the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, this month to review the proposed changes. One of the triggers in that plan will require us to begin a free chlorine disinfectant conversion, which we just went through, once we see total chlorine residuals between 1 milligrams per liter and 0.6 milligrams per liter. We're monitoring the system right now to determine exactly what number to use in the plan. This means that we may be doing these conversions more frequently and possibly within the next few months. One of the things that may cause it in the next few months is we are buying the chlorine dioxide equipment, and once we have it installed and operational, we'll try to go through a conversion to essentially clean the system out before we implement the use of that disinfectant in addition. So I stand by for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Vleck.
Okay, the other item, Mayor, is a briefing on our water task force. As you may recall, several months ago, you created a water task force to take a look at some of our recent boil water advisories, the events, and we have here our chair, Mr. Ed Martin, who you selected to serve on, to lead that task force. He is here to provide a briefing in regards to the discussions the task force had regarding the recent boil water events.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Martin.
Bless you guys.
And God bless you.
Mayor and Council, this will be very short. As Margie said, you appoint a task force consisting of myself, Margie, and Bob Bocock, a water consultant. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't, Bob's not here, he's got a prior commitment, but he did a lot of work for us gratis and provided a lot of resources, so you got a lot of friends helping you. Our charge, which was kind of vague, was to look at what happened and what we got to do to prevent it. And that's obviously as it pertains to the boil water or water boil, whatever you want to talk about. The reason the presentation is going to be short is that what we had happen during our work is what you would hope would happen anytime you hire a consultant or somebody to help you, is that the staff was working all the time to do the things both as we came up with them and they came up with them. So all the stuff, for example, that Mark just talked about were things we would be recommending. Staff that did not wait as they shouldn't have. And so a lot of this stuff is well underway. But what our findings indicated was that we have to do as a group, the city council, the staff, the hard work that's necessary to build, first, public trust, secondly, trust, credibility, and communications between the city and TCEQ, and I'll go over that later more, we need to move at the same time and simultaneously to aggressively correct operational, reporting, and testing practices, things which are underway, resolve leadership and staffing issues, such as organizational structure, which I believe Margie is well underway on, and deliver on promised and much needed capital improvements, which also happens to be underway. She didn't wait for us to have anything in this report. You know, the stuff is going ahead. But every one of the things needs to be addressed. The task force reviewed all kinds of documents, thousands of pages of documents. It was a very, very boring practice. I now know more about water than I ever cared to, and I'll never use it again. We interviewed some 18 people, 6 from the TCQ, 12 from the staff. There is not a smoking gun, unfortunately. There really is not. What's happened was a series of very unfortunate incidents on everybody's part that led up to this notice to boil water. The city violated the regulations. I'm not going to say it's small, it's not, but violations take place. The city violated the regulations. And TCEQ came down with an unbelievably strict ruling, including making the statement that the city water system was unstable. Why did that happen? We had 5 water boils since 2007, 3 in the last 9 months. We failed to deliver on promised operational changes and capital improvements. Some of those capital improvements you addressed recently have been in the books for a lot of years, and we didn't deliver on them. We promised, we didn't deliver. How do little kids get our attention? That's not a bad analogy, but anyway. Allegations coming into TCQ from current and past staff about things taking place, which we didn't find to be true, by the way. Vacancy and high turnover at all levels, and a lot of finger pointing. So TCEQ took that. I'm not defending him, believe me, I'm not defending him, and took an action to get our attention. And it snowballed. I want to say, and I believe this, it's in our opinion, Margie's and Bob's and mine, that at no point was the water unsafe. That is our strong opinion. I think it's based on the facts. As we went through the issues on the city side, as I said earlier, the staff was implementing them as we went along. So I'm not going to repeat or go over them or show you, as you've seen before, 50 slides of data. And I believe that this council, from what I know, probably knows more technically about the water system than you ever wanted to, and I'm very impressed with that. But the staff has implemented a number of steps. They take a look at the system at 1 now, not 0.5. Leading indicators, patterns, what is happening. So that's a major thing. The organizational structure, I believe, is being looked at. We think there should be a traditional water structure because it's just so unique. That's our belief. That's up to Margie. Training is going to take place. Salaries are being looked at. A water plant person, and I can't call it an operator because you got all levels, they hold certifications and classifications and they take classes. You know, you had Bob Cagle up here, a refinery guy. The refineries look for those people. So you are losing operators that may have 5, 6, 7 years just ready to be right to the refineries. You can't screw with a water system. I mean, unfortunately, it is different than a lot of other things because it is extremely technical. So those salaries got to be looked at, and I hope when Margie comes to you with a package that you'll think that's cheap money compared to what we went through, what this community went through. The capital improvements are going ahead. The ones that came to you on an emergency basis. Emergency is a bad word. It sounds like, all it means is you don't go through 18 readings. So some of these things need to be dealt with promptly. And I think you got to trust the staff and encourage the staff to do that, and so forth. So staff is addressing the issues. We are very confident. I think we should add that we think your consulting team, we didn't meet with them intentionally, but I think you got a very good consulting team. The model that was developed for you is excellent. It's state of the art. But remember, it's not their money. And most of the time they get paid based on how much work they do. So someone, I believe someone in a parallel system has got to be, Mark and Margie, if they need help, you got to give it to them, to rein in these experts, because you brought in some really high-powered people, and they put all the initials behind their name, and no one can doubt them. But they're good. The one issue that remains, I was glad to hear Mark address it a minute ago, is rebuilding trust with TCEQ. And Mayor, I think that's your job and Margie's job. I think you need to be charged with that. You can't just make two parties like each other and trust each other. We don't like them, and they don't like us. And that's got to end. That's not right. We got to start at ground zero and start over on that. So I think this must be in place, and this must be the major challenge. Inform them what's going on, and so forth. We found a lot of stuff, and I think Mark and Margie have addressed this in terms of notifications, who knew what, and it wasn't handled great. Stuff wasn't brought up to the right people's attention in the right fashion until it was too late to fix. And that's got to stop. There's got to be a relationship. But the risk of repeating myself, the city has got to build public trust. And all you got to do there is say, we fixed it, and we're taking charge. I can't guarantee one won't happen again. I don't think it will. But you got to take the steps. And the complicated stuff that Mark talked about, the rechlorination and all that stuff, that's a complicated process. But I think if you handle it and communicate it with TCEQ, they'll make it work. You got to build trust with TCEQ. You got to move forward very aggressively to correct operational reporting and testing practices. You got to make sure that those data points, those tests, that information is reaching the right level. We're not saying it should be the city manager's job, though she'd happily take it on. But that information, and I believe it's happening now, I know it's happening now, needs to go up the ranks. Doesn't need to just sit there with some person, or some frustrated person within the water system. We need to resolve leadership and staffing issues. Hard to train, develop, and recruit these type of people, and it just needs to be aggressively done. When we met with the people, unbelievably impressed with their skill sets. Not overly impressed with the communication and the ladder that was existing. Not overly impressed when you say to them, what is your next position? What are you looking forward to? They didn't always know. So I really think that issue needs to be addressed, because you are under attack, as I said, from other people trying to hire people with these types of certifications where they're going to probably work a lot less, not as hard as they do for the city. And you need to deliver on needed capital improvements. This isn't an excuse to go out and just spend money for the hell of it and just to do things that got to be done. But there's some very basic things that have to be done with our existing tanks, with valves, well, the staff knows the answer. They may try and sneak one on you here and there, something that they want to have, they've always wanted to have, so be it. But needed capital improvements need to take place. Water doesn't need to compete with streets, doesn't need to compete with police, doesn't need to compete with a lot of things. It's one of the basic services that governments exist for. We just need to do it right. But you're on the right step. As we were doing this, it just came clear to us. So thank you for the opportunity. Don't ask me to do it again.
Thank you. Ed, I want to say I appreciate the countless hours that you put into this, and also Mr. Bocock and Mrs. Rose, and the staff working with you, and all those that gave you some insights, and the paycheck for you to chair this was huge. But it's real clear that you still have a love of the city and still want to make sure that we're taking care of our city, and you have our citizens' best interests at heart. So thank you for your
There's
leadership.
a lot of people like that here, as you know, and that's
Yes.
what makes your job tolerable. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. God bless you, Ed.